What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Browns Beat podcast. It has been a long time, very long time, but we finally have some news. The season is coming quickly, but before we get into any of this, Tristan, tell the people how you've been doing. We talked a little bit before we hit record here, but been a while. What's going on?
Yeah, it certainly has been a while. Just working a lot. So I mean, me and you both, I know we're kind of going through that life right now. Just kind of talking whenever we can, whenever we have the opportunities to. And unfortunately, it's just not as much as I think we both like. But hey, you know what? We're here, and I'm really excited. There's a lot of really good topics to cover today. And it's definitely an exciting season, and I'm ready to get it going. But yeah, I'm ready to talk about everything that's been going on in the off season so far. How about yourself, Derek?
I'm doing good. Busy like you. I will. I'll address one of the one of the things big that's happened in my life here with our next topic. But before we dive into this, I just wanted to say also two things right off the bat. Yes, this is in podcast form. Normally we are on video, but at least for this time, this is probably going to be the only time. So just pop in your headphones and listen. We'll try to serenade you with our voices the best we can. But so yeah, that's first thing. Second thing, I haven't really been able to talk about it a whole lot on my channel. Just wanted to do a reminder that if you want more content from me, most of that stuff is now coming on the Dogs Podcast channel, which I will link probably in the description or somewhere in here. But I'm partnered with them now, so once a week you're getting a video from me over there. That takes a little bit of time that I have recording time for over here away, but we're gonna work it out. Season's coming up, got to create time. I don't care if it's morning, night, whatever. We're gonna talk about football, so you don't got to worry about us going away. It's just kind of that time in the off season where things are not very hot right now, but it's hot today because Tristan, first thing we got to talk about, training camp's going on, and we'll dive into the Browns training camp later, but some unfortunate news out of Cincinnati. Joe Burrow, a scary clip. If you guys have not seen the video, it was a non-contact injury where he was rolling out either left or right and just started limping really bad, went to the ground. The news coming out of Cincinnati is that it is a severe strain, and that is looking to be a 4 to 6 week injury, potentially. But before I give my thoughts, Tristan, what was your initial reaction to this? What's your thoughts on this? And what's the long term of this?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly something that you know, what you never root for this type of stuff as an opposing team. Of course, I mean, you always want to play other teams at their absolute best. To truly challenge yourselves and and be able to say at the end of the day, you know what, we really did deserve to win. We were the better team through and through. In this situation, even if it is just a strain, because the stuff I'm reading is that it's not official that it's a strain. It's just that it's his calf. So they don't know exactly what it is, except that it's a calf issue, not exactly a strain. They don't know if it's a tear. They don't know anything like that. But the assumption is strain. And if it is a strain, then of course, like you said, 4 to 6 weeks, he's probably not going to be back in time for week one. And even if he certainly isn't going to be 100% healthy. And, when it comes to the Bengals alone, the Bengals offense, it runs through Joe Burrow. There is no Cincinnati offense without Joe Burrow. And we saw that his rookie year after he had gotten that injury. I believe it was a shoulder injury, middle of the season. Like even in his rookie year, he was really.
He tore his ACL against Washington.
Oh, that's right. It was the ACL. That's right. I don't know where
Yep.
I got shoulder from, but um, yeah. I mean, we saw it in his rookie season. I mean, he was really doing really good. And then of course he did tear his ACL. And then that offense really stagnated and it struggled. And when I look at the construction of their offense, it's built for Joe Burrow. It's built for him. And I think that there's going to be a big struggle for them offensively without Joe to start the season. So, I wish him a speedy recovery. I wish him the best. And honestly, I really do hope he plays us the first game of the season because I want to have an accurate measuring stick for this team, and I want to beat them fair and square, and I want to beat them at their best. And we're only going to be able to do that if it's against Joe Burrow. However, that being said, of course, with this type of situation, week one becomes an easier game for the Browns, whether we want to say it or not, it does. And now we can look at that game and say, well, hey, you know what? If Joe isn't playing, I mean, Jim Schwartz, you got to feel pretty good about your first game as Cleveland Browns defensive coordinator. You're going to be going up against a backup QB that you're going to be able to have enough time to game plan for that backup quarterback. It's still a talented offense and there's a lot of weapons. So, I'm not going to say it's going to be easy, but, it should be easier. So
Yep.
I will say it's now a situation where we should be winning week one. That's pretty much what changes on the Brown side of things. But like I said, I hope he heals up soon though.
Yeah, this is one of those situations where actually my coworker told me and I thought he was joking. Like I thought he was lying. And I saw the news and I was like, "Oh wow." And then I saw the video and I was like, "Oh no." Because that anytime you see a non-contact football injury or injury in general like that, and especially given in the leg and in the calf, that ain't good. That ain't good at all. Obviously, don't like you said, not rooting for anything like this. Wouldn't wish it on anybody, but there are real consequences to this. This is going to have a real impact on the Cincinnati Bengals because a couple things, and this is why I wanted to wait to talk about this. Um, in the time that we've been away a little bit, at least from this podcast, I had an injury myself where I got hurt at the gym, was just doing curls, nothing out of the regular, and all of a sudden, pop right in my arm. And it was to the point where two doctors were certain that I had to have surgery, and the specialist was trying to schedule me for surgery as I was literally going in for my MRI. Like it was that serious. Well, it's by some miracle, thank God, get out of the MRI, get the news. Hey, we don't really know how. We don't know how this is possible, but you have a severe strain with some significant soft tissue swelling in that area, but nothing was torn. But even though that was the best case scenario, that's now been like a little bit over a month ago now, since that happened. It still affects me daily, and I wouldn't even say like minor. I would say it's actually pretty significant. Um, it depends obviously what I'm doing. Obviously, I'm not the starting quarterback for a football team, but even if it is just a strain, for Joe Burrow, and especially when you look at week one, because obviously he's not playing in the preseason, he's not going to play or probably not even practice much at all. But whenever he can get back, it's going to be totally different in a real official NFL game. And if Joe Burrow is playing week one, you're going to have to be able to move because regardless if it's week one or not, you still have Miles Garrett, you still have Zadarius Smith and Tomlinson, and that offensive line is new. So that's very, very, very scary if I'm a Bengals fan, because to your point, Tristan, this is a situation where he has to be the starter. Same thing, with Buffalo, with Josh Allen. If Josh Allen goes down, it's a completely different team. And here we are. He was about to get paid. was about to get a massive contract, and he gets hurt. So I don't know how that's going to affect that at all. I can't imagine it wouldn't be much. Um,
And just so you are aware as well, Diana Rossini just tweeted out from ESPN that they did confirm it is a strained calf for Joe Burrow. Yeah, it was tweeted out like 5 minutes ago, I think.
okay.
And then according to Dr. Google, if it's a grade 1 calf strain, it's a 7 to 10 day recovery. Grade 2 would be 4 to 6 weeks, and grade 3 would be about 3 months. So we
Yeesh.
will have to see exactly what the timeline is. Either way, I think with confirming it's just a strain, I think he's going to try to play through it. Just because I don't, the backups for Cincinnati are like Trevor Simeon and some Rook. Like,
Yeah.
like you're going with Joe Burrow, even when with an injured leg. So I'm expecting him to play week 1, but of course, it may be something that we might be looking at right now, and what's the word, over evaluating or looking too much into it. Um, but we'll see when we get there. Really, I mean, it's certainly something interesting to keep an eye on for week 1. But sorry for cutting you off. I just want to
No,
make sure
you're
I gave you the update there. So it's confirmed: Joe Burrow strained calf.
no, you're good. That's certainly the best case scenario for him and for Bengals fans and the Bengals as a team. But I mean, you talking about the grades there. Grade 2 is 4 to 6. I That's what I'm guessing. Based on that video, I can't imagine that it would be a grade 1. Obviously for him that would be best case scenario, and I'm not wishing for it to be worst case scenario, but it didn't look good. And again, just like I said with my situation, it's still going to affect him. It's going to affect him nonstop. And especially, if Joe Burrow is able to play game 1, game 2, game 3, whenever he comes back, it's going to be something that's a lingering injury, whether fans want to admit it or not. Um, that's going to affect him. And Tristan, I can't even imagine being if he's out there week 1. I cannot imagine being in that situation where you got a calf that's going to be bothering you all game long, and you're staring across the line looking at Zadarius Smith, Miles Garrett, Dalvin Tomlinson, and who knows? Who knows? That could be really bad. Could be really bad. But you got anything else you want to add on this Joe Burrow injury situation, or would you like to move on into our next topic?
The only other thing I'll actually say is actually another star is injured. Jalen Ramsey expected to miss at least 6 to 8 weeks for a meniscus injury and will require surgery. So, you know, we're 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 the Browns Beat podcast, but this is some pretty big AFC news for injuries. So, yeah, but yeah, you pretty much summed it up pretty good. Yeah, Joe Burrow, you know, hope he has a full recovery and hopefully we see him at his best week 1.
Yeah. It would be great. I'm hoping to go to that game, and I would love to see Joe Burrow, because the last time I saw Joe Burrow was at Ohio State's spring game. Been a while, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I just I don't know. It's hard for me today, and obviously we're not him. Only he knows where he's at, but it's just hard to try to project where he's going to be at for me. But anyways, let's move on. Let's talk some Cleveland Browns. That's why we're here, and that's why you're listening. Um, Perrion Winfrey got cut, and this is not surprising. And Tristan, I will let you go first on this, but I just want to say this right off the bat. A couple days before he got cut, or rather, I should say, it was more like a week, probably like a week or two, a week and a half before Perrion Winfrey got cut. I'm not going to name the person, but somebody I know who knows him, or knew him, texted me a picture of Perrion at a gun range and said Perrion's here, and I was like, oh no. Like that was my first reaction, was like, oh no. And then this person told me, yeah, tomorrow Perrion's planning on buying like 2 guns, he said. And sure, maybe that information doesn't matter at this point, but it was kind of like a really like yikes. Like I don't want this guy being there and being in this situation. And then the very next day, before apparently before he bought these guns, he got robbed. So it's just been, I don't know. I've heard nothing but negative things about Perrion and from people who know him, and he surrounds himself with bad people, and that's kind of dragged over. I don't know, Tristan. Did you see the reports where it was like teammates of Perrion didn't want to hang around him and were surprised that he got cut so late? Like it's bad.
Yeah, I definitely saw stuff like that. Feel free to keep going.
No, you're good.
'Cause
Go ahead.
yeah, okay. Um, what I mean, it's the same thing as the Antonio Callaway thing, because Antonio Callaway, first year was electric. I thought for us, he wasn't like the biggest player in our team, but he showed a lot of promise for a rookie that we had drafted so late. In this situation, I don't think that's the exact same thing with Perrion. More so that he was a second round pick as far as talent goes, but man, like just didn't have it together. Um, it's such a shame because I mean, this guy, if he really would have focused and I shouldn't even say focused on football. Like if he would have just cut out the bad part, like the bad influences in his life, and dedicated himself to, football and his family, I shouldn't say the family part because I don't know about his family, but I'll revise. If he would have focused on improving his on the field performances and dedicating himself to football, in the way that he should have, he's probably a guy that is a surefire guy to be starting next to Dalvin Tomlinson this year. I mean, the talent is there. The talent, and that's honestly the only reason why we held on to him for so long, is because he has that talent. But it's clear he just isn't focused on football and isn't focused on the healthy things in his life that are going to bring him happiness and eternal wealth for his family. He's clearly not focused on that, and I certainly hope he fixes that. But man, I can't help but sit here and think about how excited we were talking about drafting Perrion Winfrey last year. Like,
Yep.
He was the guy for us. He was the guy. He was the one that we wanted. As far as the D tackles go, we were saying that we would have traded up to take him in the second round. We were shocked when we passed on him in the third. It's just so sad to see a guy ruin his career this way by getting involved in stuff that he just shouldn't be involved in. He's above that now. He's an NFL football player. He doesn't need to be involved in this type of stuff, but he is. And it's a shame. It's a shame. So I wish him the best. I really hope he does find his feet somewhere in the NFL. But it's not going to be in Cleveland, and for all the reason he gave Andrew Berry every reason to cut him. And that's what it was. He gave Andrew Berry every single reason possible to cut him. And it felt like AB held on as long as he could. Because he certainly wasn't producing enough on the field to warrant it. It's just sad. It's sad. I would say I'm angry about the situation, but more so just disappointed. And I'm just ready to move on from this situation. It seems like we always find ourselves in this situation with players. Because AB, rightly or wrongly, invests in guys that have the talent, have the ability, that just, don't seem to have it mentally yet. And he's preying on guys to get through and to and I shouldn't necessarily say just AB because John Dorsey did it too. But it always feels like we're in the situation with players. Like every year, it feels like there's some big drama or some big, thing that's happening with one of our players off the field, and it's just a distraction. Um, yeah, I'm happy it's over. Wish Perrion the best. All the time in the world. Gutted that it didn't work out, but what can we do? I'm ready to move on. Ready to watch NFL football and to hopefully watch a winning football team.
Yeah, this pisses me off because, to your point, and here's the thing. Again, I've said it so many times on this podcast, Tristan, you agree. The thing that pisses me off the most about sports as a whole is wasted potential. When you're too dumb to get out of your own way. And it just, I don't know, it's such bullshit with Perrion Winfrey because it's like, dude, do you understand the opportunity that was handed to you? You were first of all, you were drafted way later, like you just said, Tristan, than you should have been because a multitude of different things, but this being one of them. And Perrion Winfrey at his best, at what we thought he could be, would have been the perfect number 2 defensive tackle on this team right now. Could not have been any better because you have your obviously do it all guy with Myles Garrett, great at everything. He's a monster. Dalvin Tomlinson, he's no slouch as a pass rusher. He's better than people give him credit for, but that is your run stuffer. Perrion Winfrey was that up the field rusher from the defensive tackle spot. And on the other side, obviously, Zadarius Smith now with Okoronkwo and all the guys in that room. It would have been the perfect fit, the perfect glue to bring that defensive line together had Perrion Winfrey got his head out of his ass and just figured it out. And I'm talking off the field and on the field because off the field, from everything that I've heard, he's been nothing but a distraction. He's been nothing but a cancer. And I don't say that lightly because I think that term gets overused a little bit where it's like, oh, that guy's a cancer. Well, in some cases, yes. In some cases, no, it's not fair. In this case, Perrion Winfrey, and I'm not going to put the blame on him solely for this. Um, but the robberies that were happening with Browns players in Cleveland, I don't think it's a coincidence that Perrion was around. I don't. And everything that I've heard about him getting involved in gang stuff and everything like that, don't think it's a coincidence. And you know, the fact that we got where we're at is ridiculous because obviously you had to cut him. Like you just said, Tristan, you tried to hold on to him as long as you could, but then this video comes out with this chick who I don't want to sell her out or anything. I mean, her name's out there. Her Instagram's like the hottest chick in Ohio or whatever. She's one of these girls that thinks she's a model and she's not. But I'm not trying to be disrespectful to her. But this is the same chick that Baker Mayfield was sliding up in the DMs on. And it's like, what the hell? Like, what can these Oklahoma players stay away from her? Like, it's not worth it, And again, not trying to be disrespectful to her at all. And this is not about her, but you just keep running into problems. And this video comes out, and Perrion does what he does, and to her, and that's terrible. Obviously, that's horrible. And there's some people out there saying, "Oh, she was, trying to set him up." I don't care if she was or not. It does not matter if she was trying to set you up or not. She exposed Baker Mayfield and nobody really cared. It's kind of funny how, that really didn't get any news except among us Browns fans. And again, it's none of my business to be talking about that. But point being, if you know what this chick did to Baker and you're in the locker room, you would think, hey, probably stay away from her. Maybe that's just me. I've known some toxic, people. I'm not gonna, I'll just move on. But point being, stay away. It's not worth it. These people are the same. They won't change. Just stay away. And, Perrion Whether if she was trying to get him to do something or not, that doesn't matter. He still did it. The video is terrible. It's indefensible. You cannot defend it. And Andrew Berry had to cut him. He had to. And should it have happened a long time ago? Yes. And there is this conversation, Tristan, with, hey, is it worth it holding on to Kareem Hunt after he kicked that lady? Is it worth it bringing in Deshaun Watson? This is always, like you said, it's a conversation with the Browns with all this. And for me, it's terrible from the human aspect, but from the on the field standpoint, I want to reiterate it again. You had an opportunity on a good football team to be a key piece. And now the Browns will be fine. I mean, maybe you disagree, Tristan. Let me know. I think whoever D tackle number 2 is will be fine because of how good that room is around him. But that could have been your spot. And he's young. I mean, it could have been a situation where Perrion was the defensive tackle number 2. And after 3 years or so, whatever it is, Tomlinson, you move on from him. Perrion's your guy. And then you have Ika next to him. Could have been that. I mean, I'm not saying it would have. The NFL changes so much. Who knows? We don't know anything about Ika or how he's going to work out, obviously. But opportunity was there. And he blew it. So, with that being said, let's kind of shift. Not really. I mean, it's the same topic, but Tristan, how do you feel about that room? Because I like what we have there depth wise in rotation. But a guy like Matthew Ioannidis is still out there. Depending on what he would cost, I'd bring him in. But what are you thinking, Tristan?
I mean, honestly, I kind of like what we've got there. Just because I think there's a good mix of players that have some potential in that you're hoping will step up, but at the same token, you're right. There's no favorite for that other tackle spot, that other D tackle spot. Some people will say Jordan Elliott. I personally, I've seen enough of him. If it works out this year, great. But I mean, let's be honest here. It's unlikely. I think bringing in Matt Ioannidis makes a lot of sense. Just because from a standpoint of he's a solid run defender, solid pass rusher, you know what you're getting with him. The only issue with that is you're not going to be giving your rookies a lot of snaps. The rookies that we have in that position. So for me personally, I don't think that our season's going to come down to this D tackle room anymore. I think it's not a liability anymore. There's promising guys there that in this Jim Schwartz system should be able to produce and should not be a liability. I don't think that there's many spots on this defense that you could consider a potential liability anymore because of the talent that we have. So, I mean, to be honest with you, I almost want to say I don't care because I'm content with how it looks right now.
Same way. Yeah.
I'm content with how it looks right now. If we bring Matt and Ioannidis in, that's fantastic. It's another great addition to the room. But I'm content with where it's at right now. I'd be okay with us sitting with where we're at. And then, maybe middle of the season, we say, hey, you know what? None of these rookies are cutting it. Let's bring somebody in and either like doing a trade or signing somebody who's available in free agency. That's where I think we're at right now. At least waiting and seeing how camp shakes out and seeing who steps up. That's for sure. Yeah. I mean, the long and short of it is I just want to win some damn football games. I don't think the D tackle is going to matter much at this point.
No.
Earlier in the offseason, absolutely it matters because we couldn't, like my grandmother on a motorized scooter could rush for 4 yards carry on this defense. So, that's what it was last season. So, I think we're doing okay though. I'm not too worried about it. Derek, I mean, Matt Ioannidis, how would you feel if we brought him in?
So while you were talking, I off the top of my head, I wrote down everybody in that defensive tackle room that I could think of. So, um, right now, obviously Dalvin Tomlinson's your starter. So let's look at this. Obviously, Siaki Ika is your draft pick. He's going to be there for sure. Tommy Togiai is obviously a lot of people want him cut, but at least for now, he's penciled in there. Jordan Elliott, same situation. And the Browns brought in Tristan Hill, who's kind of a defensive tackle edge who played with Cowboys, was solid. And then Maurice Hurst. So that's what you're looking at as far as rotation right now for that D tackle number 2. Ioannidis would obviously come in, cement himself, and be that defensive tackle number 2 for sure. And then you really wouldn't have to rotate as much. I mean, you still could, obviously. Um, and it would actually work out good because then you could have like Ika fill that Tomlinson role of just being that run stuffer and then whoever. I mean, it's not really a hard equation to figure out. It's just going to be up to Jim Schwartz and what he wants to do. But Tristan, way back when we signed Maurice Hurst, I said, who? And you said it was a good signing. And I was kind of like, oh, I don't know. Upon further review, I am a big fan of Maurice Hurst. I actually love that signing in hindsight. I didn't know enough about him then. Obviously, have done my homework since then. And I like him a lot. And I think for me, Tristan, based on what we've heard out of camp, and we'll get into some camp takeaways here in a few, but I've heard nothing but good things from Maurice Hurst, and he has been good in the NFL. The only problem has been injury related. So if it were up to me, would I make the call to Ioannidis? Of course, I would say, hey, we can do this, and would you come in for a year, prove it deal type situation? If yes, great. If not, I'm not worried enough to overpay. Like you said, don't really care. Not as important. I'd much rather go out and spend a little bit or trade at linebacker than anything. But who knows? We'll see. But for me, I think probably the way the depth chart would shake out. Well, not even going to get into that yet. Well, we got preseason to worry about to figure that out. But I think we're fine. I think we'll be okay. It's certainly not a great group of guys, but who you got heading up the group with Tomlinson is what you want. Now, if he goes down, then you're really screwed. Then it's kind of like, oh shit, what do we got? But I'm not too worried about it. If that time comes, knock on wood that it won't. We'll figure it out then. So, before we move on, you got anything else you want to add about Perrion in that defensive tackle room?
Yeah, I mean, just with the D tackle room, the other thing to consider is the depth that we have at edge. I wonder if one of our young edge rushers, for example, like Alex Wright, I wonder if we see Schwartz try to kick one of those guys inside in like pass rush scenarios. Just because I think Alex Wright, when we're looking at the defensive, the edge rushers we have on this roster, the edges we have, I just don't know if Alex Wright fits in that group. The other edge rushers have got a lot more speed, quickness to them, power. For me, Alex Wright doesn't like have the bend, that we typically see out of the other edge rushers that we've got here. Unless if he's improved drastically, which is very possible. He was a very high potential type of guy. I don't know if I see him as an edge in this system. But I'll be interested to see. He's definitely a guy worth keeping an eye on. Maurice Hurst, absolutely, yeah. He was, for people who don't know, Maurice Hurst was supposed to be a first round pick, I want to say in like 2018, 2019. And he had during a medical, like it was revealed he had some type of issue with his heart, which made him fall to like, I think it was like the 5th round, somewhere in that ballpark between the 4th and 6th, which unbelievable fall. And then, like you said, just plagued with injuries. So he's a guy that I'm really hoping works out. And based off of how he sounds, how he's doing at camp, he realizes this might be his last chance. And he's fighting for it. So I'm rooting for him. I do like Siaki Ika a lot. He is a guy that I viewed as a high potential pick for our system. If we were playing like a 3-4, you're pretty much getting as much as you can out of him. But with the 4-3 system, he can slim down a bit and get a little bit more speed to his game.
I was about to say that boy is thick.
Oh yeah,
have you seen those pictures out of camp? That dude, he is.
Big
that's a wide load.
Yeah. That's exactly why I liked him.
Good
that's
Lord.
why.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's exactly why I liked him, because based off of how much we had sucked against the run, we could use a big body in the trenches. Lord knows. So, I think one of those two guys is probably my leading contender to take that second spot. If it goes to Jordan Elliott, I'm not going to cry. I just don't think Jordan Elliott's going to have an important role really at all this season, no matter what. But I'm expecting something big from the other two, though. So I will say that.
That room is going to be a pay attention to the preseason. That room, the edges, just to see how that depth chart shakes out. Will be very, very interesting. But let's move on here. This will probably be really quick, but we have not talked about it. The Cleveland Browns, it was announced a long time ago that they were going to be releasing alternate helmets, and everybody shout out to, I talked to them a lot, but the guys at More For You Cleveland, they've been on top of this for a long time. Right when that news dropped, they quite literally photoshopped the exact helmet that we got now. So you seen it a long time ago. It's now official. The Browns have brand new white helmets, brown face mask, brown stripe with the orange stripe down the middle. I think it looks absolutely beautiful. The Browns announced that they are going to be wearing the all-white throwback uniforms against the Pittsburgh Steelers, the San Francisco 49ers, and the New York Jets at the end of the year. So I love them. I think it's great. About time. Njoku looked fantastic in them. What a great model he was for that. But Tristan, what do you think?
Yeah, I thought they looked great. Looked really clean. A good, the Browns fans really love their past, especially the past teams that had success, and this is a good reference to that. And I thought the look is good. But I have to be completely honest. My initial reaction was, "Wow, that's really cool. It looks great." Does not matter if they don't win. Like, as much as I like the uniforms and I want to be excited about them, I'm done caring about uniforms, logos, any of that other shit. If we wear pink when we lift the Super Bowl trophy, I'm not going to give a shit. So, honestly, after the past several years, the stuff that's been going on in this organization, everything outside of football, I'm just ready to watch a winning football team. Just honestly, that's where I'm at. I'm excited about the uniforms, sure, but really, I couldn't care less, if I'm being brutally honest.
Well,
and it sounds terrible. We have to talk about it because we're a Browns, we're a Browns podcast, but I just don't care anymore. I just want to see them win. I don't care if we were doing like what the Pittsburgh did with the Bumblebees with brown and orange stripes. I don't care if we did that. I don't care if we had a fairy in the middle of our field, which some might say we already do with Brownie the Elf. But who cares? I don't care. I just want to see this team win football games.
I need Darth Dog in the middle of the field. I need it. Two things before we move on, because it's kind of pointless. But I wanted to talk about it. Make the damn white face mask the permanent. Just do it. Speaking of uniforms, just do it. It's such a common sense thing. And
That's something I can get behind.
There you go.
Is something I can get behind.
On Twitter, I don't know what, it's like NFL uniforms or whatever on Twitter. And the guy tweeted out like the white face mask are heat or something. And it was just a picture of all the white face masks and the Browns were included. And it's like, why is that not permanent? I mean, that's the Cleveland Browns. I don't think of a brown face mask when I think of the Browns maybe you think of a gray face mask for a certain amount of years, but I always think of a white face mask. And I don't know why, for the life of me, we don't have white face masks permanently. I think eventually, because obviously, the media team and JW or whatever, I forgot his name. But
J.W.
anyway,
Johnson. Yep.
yeah, JW Johnson. Obviously, he's going to hear the fans. We're going to have orange jerseys at some point, just like we had orange pants. And just like we're going to have the orange um, the white face mask will be permanent at some point. Why we're wasting all this damn time, it makes no sense to me. Just do it. Just pull the trigger. Nobody's gonna criticize you for being wrong when you release the uniforms the first time. They look great. Just make the face mask white. Okay? That's number one. Number two, I don't mean to hate on all the Bengals fans, but fuck you. I'm so tired of hearing, "Oh, you copied us. You copied us. We got white helmets. You got to copy us. It looks the exact same." No, it doesn't look the exact same. We literally, like you just said, Tristan, the Browns fans and us, we love our throwbacks and everything like that. We've had these helmets for an eternity. Stop saying it looks the same. I'm sick and tired of it. It's so stupid. But I'm not gonna go off on a tangent on that. But nevertheless, let's keep pushing. Camp is underway. Training camp is underway. The Browns, where are they at? West Virginia? Something
Yep.
like that. Yep.
Yes, sir.
So
I love that move, though. Just get away from Cleveland for a bit.
yeah.
Just because the pressure around the city this year is, I think, ultimately high. I think it makes sense to just go away.
Yeah. Well, and all the distractions from last year with Deshaun and the media and all of that, just to be able to get away, get in a secluded environment. And there's so many new, especially on the offense, there's just so many new pieces. So I completely agree. But I'm not going to have a lot to say on this. So I'll just say my piece here real quick. I try not to overreact to camp as much as possible. But to steal a point that I said yesterday on the Dogs or 2 days ago on the Dogs podcast, the Browns are using Elijah Moore, Tristan. In my opinion, like Amon-Ra St. Brown is being used the same way Deebo Samuel is being used. And I love that. I love that. I think that role is perfect for this team and this offense. He looks fantastic. Cedric Tillman looks great. He looks really good. He looks very much apart because of his size and everything. Cooper, he's had an injury, but he'll be okay. Atkins made a great play today. Everything's just looking really good. Don't want to overreact to it. The only other thing I wanted to address real fast, other than Deshaun looks great. And from all accounts, looks a billion times better physically, mentally, emotionally, on the field, just way, way better, way back to himself is what people are saying. But the one last thing, Tristan, before I let you say what you would like to say on this, Jalen Darden should make this roster. He brings you something unique. I think with the NFL kick return rule changes, the Browns were having Darden and DPJ doing the punt and kick returns. I think for me that writes the end of Jakeem Grant. I think Darden is a guy who Tristan, I don't know how much you know about him or going back to him in college. This dude he's great. He's really good. He got cut by the Bucks. He had a couple injuries. I'm not entirely sure what the whole story of him in the NFL is, but this dude in college was unstoppable. And when you're talking about shaping out this wide receiver room, I think we're keeping 7 receivers personally. But I'd throw him at the bottom of this roster. Anthony Schwartz sucks. He's not going to make the team. With Jakeem Grant, he's had injuries. He's older. And now the rule change, I just don't see a role for him on this team that's that valuable. I think you give it to this kid who has a lot of potential, who's showing out in camp. If he comes out and has a great preseason on top of this camp, I think he's got to make the roster. So that's my opinion. Tristan, go ahead. What do you think about training camp so far?
Yeah, like you said, I like what I'm hearing about Elijah Moore. I think with Elijah, of course, anything that you see in camp, you have to take with a grain of salt. Like DPJ's been a camp hero the previous two camps,
Yeah.
and where's he been during the regular season? I mean, so if we're being brutally honest here, so always take these types of things with a grain of salt when we look at camp reports. However, I think if there's anything to highlight about why Elijah Moore's really looking good, it's because of how big of a need he fills. I feel like we absolutely needed a guy with elite speed, which he has. He has elite speed, elite quickness. We needed a guy that had that. And clearly it shows because Stefanski is able to open up the playbook more. And it allows him to add some versatility to our offense, which we desperately need, especially in that passing attack. I think that if there's anything, if you're somebody who's not trying to get too optimistic, is trying to, manage your expectations a bit, I think the best way to look at this is, hey, Stefanski now has somebody who can do something different for him, somebody who can provide in a different way that makes a lot of sense for us. That's what I would be looking at here, and that's what I would be getting excited about. Is just that idea that it's something completely new to our offense, something that we desperately needed. When it comes to Jalen Darden, I liked what I saw from him. I like what I'm seeing from him in camp. I liked what I saw from him in the little bits that we saw last season. Just being brutally honest, I don't know if he's going to make it to the roster just because of the depth that we have there. I think that there's a lot of guys fighting for places. He might be a guy that hangs on to a spot and then gets cut when Marquise Goodwin comes back. And,
could be.
If we're being brutally honest here, if we're looking at what we need from our 6th or 7th receiver, when really does a 6th or 7th receiver have much impact in an offense? Not really a whole lot. So we're looking more for somebody who's going to have a bigger special teams impact.
Well, that's why I
which
think
of
he
course,
does make
yeah,
it, though.
which of course, he has been showing out at camp. I will say that. But also, I mean, you restructured Jakeem Grant's deal. And that's the other thing is like you restructured his deal and made it pretty much harder for him to get cut because you'd have more of a hit against your cap with cutting him. So I just almost think it's written in the stars he's going to get cut for that reason, and I don't know. I have a tough time deciphering what is going to happen with the bottom of this receiving group. Because listen, we know which guys are going to stay on the roster. We know that we're going to see, Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, DPJ, Cedric Tillman. We know we're going to probably have Bell. I mean, it would be shocking if we didn't.
There's no way they cut Bell. Anthony Schwartz was on this team 2 years too much, 2 years too long, and David Bell's been here for a year. There's no way he gets cut.
No, I know what you're saying. So right there, you have 5 slots. I mean, you're asking Darden to rise to the top of a group that there's a lot there, and even then, like when Marquise Goodwin comes back, he might get cut. So his real only hope is if we are 100% taking 7 guys on this roster, and if he's the clear-cut returner for this team. That's really his only chance, and he has to be miles better than Jakeem Grant. And I don't think that, based off of the restructure that we did for him, as well as the fact that we signed him to a decent deal and he hasn't played a snap for us yet, you really think Andrew Berry is going to be okay with that? I don't know. I'm managing my expectations with that. I feel like it's going to be Jakeem Grant taking that final roster spot, and maybe we maybe if Darden doesn't get picked up by another team, we have him protected on the practice squad. That's what I'm thinking. And then he's there if we need him, like we did last season. I'm pretty sure that's the role he had last season, because I don't think he was a full-time roster guy, but I think he played a couple of downs here and there. But either way, yeah, I think no matter what, it's, again, not going to be something that ultimately sways where the direction of this team, but it is still something worth keeping an eye on. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's probably more of a see how the preseason shakes out. And, if some of these guys can step up, be a little bit of a bigger role, have kind of a bigger impact, it happens every year for a couple teams where it's like, yeah, that guy showed out in the preseason, made the roster. Some guys doesn't, Damon Sheehy, Giuseppe, remember, that was as much of a story as you can get. And he was really good in the preseason, didn't make the roster. So who knows? You could definitely be right for sure. I think it's just kind of a wait and see at this point. And plus, like you said, Goodwin's situation, that's TBD, and hopefully he'll be okay. But who knows? Let's move on to our last topic here, and then we will wrap it up. One of the guys that we spent a lot of time talking about signed somewhere, and DeAndre Hopkins signed a mega deal to play for the Tennessee Titans. And I'll keep this quick because I don't really have much to say. I think at the end of the day, it was just money, because the Titans are going to be not good. The Titans are going to be a very average to potentially below average football team. At least that's what I'm seeing, especially in this AFC. Is he going there to play with Ryan Tannehill? No. That's not like, it's not like he's going to play with Patrick Mahomes. So Derrick Henry's great, yes, but he just got paid a lot. That's what it is. That's why he wasn't a member of the Cleveland Browns. And I don't think we had a huge need for him. It was like a luxury piece. We've mentioned that. And he ends up getting a really, really big deal. So, but somehow still Odell Beckham Jr. got a bigger deal. I don't know how that's possible, but I'm glad DeAndre Hopkins is not a Raven. I can tell you that much. But go ahead, Tristan.
Yeah. 2 years, 25.5 mil. I mean, like that's not the type of move we were looking to do at that money. Like you said, it was a luxury piece. It was going to be, if we could get him in for a reasonable deal, he would be replacing DPJ, and we would trade DPJ for an asset. That's what it was going to be. Yeah, sucks that we didn't get him, because there was a lot of hype about it. And, at one point I felt like he was going to come here.
The odds said he was.
Yeah. It really felt like it was going to be here. But it's clear that we weren't going to go there price wise, and I don't blame us for not going there price wise. Yeah, so it sucks, but hey, you know what? It's not like he's going to a contending team. The starting quarterback battle is going to be between Ryan Tannehill and Will Levis. But I will say, if they give the starting job to Will Levis, that they're going to the Super Bowl.
In camp.
They're going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, okay. And Kellen Mond is your MVP next year. All right. Well, with that being said, everybody, that's going to wrap up this Browns Beat podcast. We will have more as the Hall of Fame game like super soon.
I think so.
It's like the 6th, isn't it? Or the 4th, 5th? I don't know. It's really soon. One of the two.
Yeah, I'm excited. So it's going to be August 3rd.
August 3rd. Even sooner.
3rd.
So that's hold on. August 3rd is in like a couple days.
Yeah.
That's it's exactly
August 3rd is 1 week.
1 week. We are 1 week away from the Hall of Fame game.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go.
Football's back, baby.
Dorian Thompson-Robinson's gonna fuck up the Jets. Let's go. Let's fucking go.
Dude, Zach Wilson's gonna get absolutely demolished by like
Isaiah McGuire's gonna have 8 sacks.
Isaiah McGuire,
No. But for real though, we are, as you can tell, very excited. I need football. I need football. Bad.
Mm-hmm.
So we will have, if it's next Thursday, probably, if not next Thursday night, we'll record something. If not, a couple days after, whenever it works out for us. But we will be back very soon with reactions to that. If anything else big comes out, hopefully not. Injury related, obviously we'll talk about it. But that's it for me. You got anything for anything else, Tristan?
Ready to see some wins this year. Just ready for it. Let's see it.
And it starts next Thursday when Dorian Thompson-Robinson puts up Hall of Fame quarterback numbers. His mom followed me on Twitter, by the way. I don't know if I told you that.
That's awesome. No, you didn't tell me that. That's awesome. That's awesome.
It was hilarious. I did a video talking about DTR, and next thing I know, his mom follows me, retweets it, posts a link to his highlights. I'm like, man, what a supportive parent. Must be nice.
That's awesome.
Anyway. Oh, man. Anyway, have a good one, everybody. We'll see you. We'll see you next time.